Well, it appears a storm has arrived. Earlier today, James Gunn went on an absolute rampage of debunking rumors and nailed down quite a few stories, one of which we actually reported on here. Let's take a couple minutes to break down all the rumors that he debunked far and wide. Some of them I hadn't even heard yet. Well, as many of you know, the best part of the new DC studios for everybody has been the interactivity we're getting with co-head James Gunn. Now, this is something new for a lot of us fans, and one of the best parts about it is James Gunn puts rumors to bed as quick as possible, which I think is a genius move to control and set proper expectations for upcoming projects. Now, Gunn will helm Superman Legacy, and it's going to be a big player in Creature Commandos, but currently he's promoting Guardians of the Galaxy, so the guy has an absolute full game card, but does take out time to help fans understand what's really going on. Now, he responded to a series of tweets taking on a lot of debunking duties and crushing several stories, one of which we reported on here. So let's dig into that one first. Now, this tweet was pretty interesting because somebody shared a conversation with a well-known leaguer, which gave a list of projects, which included Lobo, Animal Man, Superman vs. the Authority, Mr. Terrific, Peacemaker Season 2, and one of the stories we reported on, Justice League New Frontier. Now, Gunn kept this debunking pretty simple because he opened with a simple no. Now, in that same conversation, if you dig down a little bit deeper, you find out that Gunn did follow up a little bit on this, expanding on the no and saying, there's no truth to all of these being in Chapter 1. It's totally made up. PMS2, Peacemaker Season 2, is coming out after Legacy. So, at least right now, as part of Chapter 1, none of them are in the works. Now, in the works doesn't mean not part of a larger roadmap towards the end of Chapter 1 or beyond Chapter 1. We've heard rumors that Safran has a huge game card with 20 plus projects potentially in the plan, so obviously some of these things could be much farther down the road and something he just doesn't want to speak to right now. Now, after that, he went on a tear of debunking more casting rumors. As you know, recently he dropped quite a few cast members for Creature Commandos, and there's some huge names attached to that, like Frank Grillo, David Harbour, and Alan Tudyk. So they haven't been holding back casting news. Now, in one conversation, he actually debunked Ron Perlman being part of the Creature Commandos. Now, they revealed the Commandos, so some people were suggesting he was another part, maybe a villain. But James Gunn had something interesting to say about Perlman, and it wasn't that he was cast. In his tweet, he replied, Ron Perlman is an actor I love, but he isn't on the show, and he and I never even talked about him being on the show. It might be better if folks stop believing rumors. If it doesn't come from me or DC, it's not to be believed. So clearly, Perlman was not part of the project, and honestly, I love his little message there because that's pretty much what we use before every single rumor on this channel, something to keep in perspective. Now, the next casting report was surrounding Booster Gold, and there was a report, it appears over on Reddit, that suggested that Aaron Paul had been in talks to star in the series, and it seemed pretty likely that he was going to take up the part, with even a potential cameo for Blue Beetle. Now, Gunn, once again, was very concise with his answer, because he said, "Zero truth to that. I like Aaron a lot personally and professionally, but we've never discussed this, and the rest of it is also 100% made up." So, any rumors we're hearing of Aaron Paul becoming the new Booster Gold, well, Gunn debunked them. Now, to this, I was never really expecting Aaron Paul. I still think Chris Pratt is set up for the role, and that hasn't been debunked by Gunn, and it's been circulating for several weeks, so I think we've already got that one figured out. Now, the next one he pretty much laughed off because this one is pretty ridiculous, but considering how Shazam Fury of the Gods did at the box office, we could see a recasting. Now, they posted a rumor report to him that suggested that Alan Ritchson could take over the role as Shazam. Now, Ritchson played Hawk on Titans and is currently on Reacher, and Gunn's reply was, no, laugh out loud, Jesus. Like, he literally was completely caught off guard by the possibility. Now, do I think Ritchson would be a great Shazam? I think he was born for the role. The guy is huge, his presence on screen is awesome. I did really like him as Hawk, but in Reacher he really comes into his own, and anything that James Gunn could get him to play in the DCU is likely to be a big win. If he didn't look like such an oversized Captain America, I would even think he might be a good call for Superman, but I seriously doubt that will happen. Now, the last one is about him debunking some potential directors, which, embarrassingly for them, they seemed to confirm themselves, and now James Gunn kind of took a part. Now, somebody asked him if there was anything he could say about the Philippines meeting with DC. And initially his response was, he didn't even know who they were talking about. Now, to be fair, I didn't know who they were talking about. But this is understandable because they're very new on the filmmaking scene. Now, recently they premiered a movie called Talk to Me at Sundance, and it got a 97% Rotten Tomatoes rating, meaning critics loved it. But they're actually more known for their Australian YouTube channel called Raka Raka. Now, I have no idea who these guys are, but if they're able to drop a film in the Sundance and do so well, they obviously have talent. But honestly, using them for any DC project seems really premature. I'm sure the studio would not want to grab very inexperienced directors and give them such a monster franchise to try to control. This is often one of those industries where you kind of build up in steps, and most people just don't drop into $100 million budgets and just take off that way. So I think given some more time, we could see these guys over at DC, but it's way too premature. Now, Gunn did admit that they did talk with Warner Brothers about some stuff, but they never met with him and Peter or DC, and they never offered them any projects. So this is sort of a weird one, but Gunn again is making it pretty clear what's going on. Now, if you're following the news cycle, you know there's a lot of other rumors, and I noticed some of those weren't debunked today. I think we can do a little bit of reverse reading the tea leaves with Gunn on what he does debunk, adding some power to stuff he hasn't, although like he said in one of his statements today, if it's not coming from him or DC, it's not to be believed. So we're going to continue to look to Gunn to help clarify any of the information that we hear coming down the pipe. Obviously, DC has a huge future and a lot of characters, and I don't think this is going to be the end of new rumors, and although I think James Gunn debunking some of these rumors might slow them down, they're definitely not going away, and leaks will always happen. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.